You know, usually I like to stand up for these things and pace around. I'm a little more comfortable that way. But because the iPhone just had to get rid of their headphone jack, and because I lost the stupid freaking adapter to my lapel mic, I gotta sit down for this one. Why get rid of the headphone jack? What's the point of that? In 2013, MLS and USL formed a partnership. And a year later, in 2014, the first MLS 2 side was born, with LA Galaxy 2. Or if you wanted to sound cool, you called them Los Dos. Now fast forward to today, in 2020, there were 16 USL teams with MLS affiliations, with 11 of them being completely owned by the MLS team themselves. However, recently it's been revealed that 3 MLS clubs, Portland, Philadelphia, and Orlando, will be pulling out their second division teams out of USL. And it is believed that more are likely to follow suit. Meanwhile, it's also been revealed that MLS is planning on launching a U23 league that could start as early as 2021. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to refer to that U23 league as the MLS Reserve League, because that's kind of what it is. Now, I believe it's possible to have both, a reserve league and teams in the USL. But should that be the case? Should MLS and USL continue their partnership? And should MLS teams be in USL? Let's find out. After I remind you that if you're an MLS fan or just curious to find out more about the league, then please subscribe for more MLS content. And also, let me know what you want to see a video on in the future. All right, now with that out of the way, let's do it. Better competition in USL. All right, look, an MLS Reserve League is not going to have a Louisville City. It's not going to have a Phoenix Rising. It's not even going to have a Greenville Triumph. People that don't really follow the lower divisions in this country probably overlook these teams. But make no mistake about it, these squads are legit. Like the 2019 Phoenix Rising would have been one of the top teams in MLS. There it is. That's my USL hot take. Now, I believe when you have a prospect, you gotta challenge him. He can't just go up against other fellow reserves and people his age. No, you gotta test him against real professionals. Tyler Adams, Alphonso Davies, yeah, they got their start in USL. Now, would they have been promoted up to the first team in MLS as soon as they did had they only played in a reserve league? I mean, possibly, they were that good. But at the same time, you can't really rule out that maybe the first team would need a little bit more evidence before they brought them up. The goal for MLS in this partnership is to create a pipeline of talent for its younger players. And to do that, they should go up against USL competition because it is a better test. Ain't no money in it for MLS. I mean, clearly, why else would teams be leaving? Okay. Having a 2 team is gonna be a business expense no matter what. Like, they sure as hell aren't making any money on ticket sales, and they're making minimum on jersey sales, if any. Okay, now to be fair, having a reserve league, that's certainly not a moneymaker either. But we all know that reserve leagues or MLS 2 teams, the goal is not to make money. The goal is to develop future players. But now the difference between the two is that running a reserve league would be way easier to handle than having an MLS 2 team in a completely different league. For example, you can separate the teams by regions. That can cut out so much travel that way. And to continue running with that idea, you can host double headers. Yeah, have the reserve league team play first and then the main event right after. And I know I just said USL has better competition, and I stick by that point. However, it's not like you can't discover any talent from the MLS Reserve League. I mean, just look at Chris Wondolowski. That's where he got his start. I'd say his career turned out all right. The partnership helps out both MLS and USL on the field. While the focus of this video is mostly on the MLS 2 teams and not the USL teams that are just simply affiliated with an MLS team, I still want to bring up the ladder for this point. Certain markets have been greatly helped out by teaming up with the other league. For example, before Orlando City was in MLS, Orlando City was in USL. And in 2013, they teamed up with Sporting Kansas City. SKC sent a second-year project, a guy named Dom Dwyer, down to Orlando because they really didn't have room for him in the starting lineup. Dom Dwyer would then go on to score 15 goals in 13 games and lead Orlando to a USL final victory. That's when SKC realized, oh, okay, we got someone good here. And they brought him back full-time. Win-win for both. Orlando got a championship, and SKC found out they got a stud. Without this partnership, without Dom Dwyer being loaned out to Orlando, I'm not sure Dwyer ever gets his opportunity. I know there's talk about too many teams diluting the talent pool. I gotta say, I disagree with this notion, especially in USL. More teams just means more opportunities for guys that would have been overlooked in the past. It's not dilution of talent, it's discovery of more talent. Besides, if this influx of teams, many of them MLS teams, if that was bad for the overall product on the field in USL, then we wouldn't be seeing as many Cinderella runs in the US Open Cup as we have the last couple of seasons. Stunts the growth of USL. There are currently 50 markets that have announced they are interested in USL 1. Not USL Championship, USL 1. That's the great thing about USL. They're going to markets that haven't been explored before. Not just in soccer terms, but like in all pro sports in this country. But as we've learned in the past, you can't just add and subtract a million teams every year. That's a recipe for disaster. Nah, you gotta be smart with your expansion. You can't just give out teams to everyone. But with that being said, there are more New Mexico Uniteds out there. There are more Forward Madisons out there. But you know where you're never gonna find them? In MLS 2 sides. Just imagine the potential if you replace all of those MLS 2 sides with new markets. I promise you, you would see the attendance in USL explode. Now I'm gonna say 2 words that gets everyone riled up. You ready? Promotion, relegation. Not between MLS and USL. I mean, Don Garber isn't making any plans for that anytime soon. No, I'm talking about USL Championship to USL 1. And maybe in the future, USL 1 to USL 2. Now, USL Commissioner Jake Edwards said prior to the 2019 USL Championship Final that promotion and relegation is a realistic goal for the future. But are MLS 2 sides going to be okay with that? I don't know. I think you're going to see some pushback. Like, for instance, Red Bull 2, they've had a ton of success sending players up to the first team in MLS. The standard has been set. USL is their reserve league. Are they going to be okay with being demoted and relegated to playing worse competition? I doubt it. Again, not a problem if MLS 2 sides are not in the equation. It legitimizes USL as a league. Think about where USL was before the partnership with MLS. 11 teams in 2012. Versus today, 2020, 35 teams in USL Championship and another 11 teams in USL 1. So yeah, that's called growth. And yes, the MLS partnership has a lot to do with it. I don't want to be rude, but there's a lot of people that didn't even know USL existed until they realized that their MLS reserve team or their MLS 2 team played in this lower division. And now you've got USL games on ESPN Plus, and they had the championship planned for ESPN. That is something USL wouldn't have even been able to dream about just a few years ago. Again, bringing up Tyler Adams and Alphonso Davies, those two are playing in the Champions League. The real Champions League, not the CCL. I mean, I like the CCL, but come on, let's be real here. People are calling Alphonso Davies the best left back in the world. And him and Tyler Adams, I repeat, got their start in USL. And that does not happen without the MLS partnership. It delegitimizes USL as a league. Wait, what was my last point again? Okay, more teams, great. Now let's look at the attendance. Yeah, top looks pretty good. But how about the bottom? Yeah, MLS 2 sides are single-handedly bringing down the average attendance in this league. And it's so disheartening because, like, you watch the highlights and in one game you have this awesome, amazing crowd, and in the same weekend you have another game where if you didn't know any better, you would think it's an inter-squad scrimmage because literally no one is in the stadium. I know, USL is the second division, but with all the MLS 2 sides, it feels like such a minor league. USL Championship should feel like the championship in England, but it doesn't. It just feels like AA baseball. And it can get hard to get into. I'm sorry, but I don't want to watch Atlanta United 2 versus Philadelphia Union 2. Like, it doesn't hold my attention. There is no doubt in my mind that as a whole, the partnership between MLS and USL has been extremely beneficial to both leagues. But the real question is, do we still need this partnership? Yes, MLS has helped out USL, USL has helped out MLS, but is it time to move on? And to that, I will say, depends. What is the ultimate goal for USL? If they're fine with being perceived as the minor league to MLS, then great, keep the MLS 2 teams around. But if we're talking about growing soccer in this country, it kind of seems like we're about to hit a wall with USL because there's only so many expansion sides that you can add. I don't think MLS is the only league that new fans can flock to. USL absolutely has that capability. But they are severely limiting themselves when a third of their teams, or however many, are just MLS 2 sides. Okay. Calling this a draw and saying depends, that's kind of a cop-out. No, you want my real opinion on this, right? You want a real answer to this question. So, on the case of should MLS teams be in USL, I will say nay for the MLS 2 sides. Again, I will acknowledge that this partnership has been a plus for both MLS and USL. I just think it's run its course. I do still like the idea of USL teams having an MLS affiliate team. I don't have a problem with teams teaming up and loaning players to one another. Actually, I kind of like that. I just don't like the MLS 2 sides. Like, I've never liked them. I don't know, it's just hard to get hyped for a game when you know you're playing the MLS minor league team. It just doesn't feel right. All right, but what about you guys? What do you think? Do you think MLS should have teams in USL? Let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. By the way, I found it.